Hi, this is Mike from Mike's Unboxing Reviews and How To, and today we're going to do something a little bit different. Today we're going to look at how to start a YouTube channel and some of the things you may need. Keep watching to find out more. Now, over the last 2 years, there's been quite a few questions that have come through to the Mike's Unboxing team, and we've done our best to answer them, but some of the questions we've kind of left a little bit unanswered, or we've done them in a more private way. But we keep on getting asked some of the same questions, so I thought it'd be a good time now to kind of address some of those questions and also help some of you that may be thinking of starting your own YouTube channel. So this is going to be by no means a definitive list. I am a relative newcomer within the YouTube market, and also, as far as that goes, into photography and videography, and probably sound recording and audio and all that kind of stuff. So I am by no means an expert. I am just passing on some of the information and some of the tricks and tips that I've used in the creation of these videos. Whether you choose to take my advice, that is entirely up to you. If you've got any advice that you want to give to me or to any of our viewers, feel free to let me know in the comment section below, and I'll be really glad to have a look through it, because I'm open to any options to try and improve my video content production. So that's enough waffling out of the way, let's get on with this. So what do you need to make a YouTube channel? Well, there's a couple of basic things you need. The first thing is an email address. That's one thing you're gonna need for a start. So if you haven't got a Gmail account, get yourself a Gmail account. That is a starting point. From then, your Gmail account you can use to add a YouTube account and start creating and uploading content. Now, when you're doing this, have a think about what you're doing, what the email address should be, and where you're gonna be going. Now, my personal YouTube account, which I use every day for these uploads, is tied to an older email address, which I don't actually really like, and I don't particularly like using. But because I didn't think about it early on, I just went headlong straight into it and started producing content on this account. Unfortunately, I would have loved to have had a different email address for this account. It would have made life a lot easier and would have made things a little bit simpler for us in the kind of admin side of things, whereas now I have a lot of stuff coming into the same email account for YouTube and for other personal projects. So that's something to definitely start thinking about. Now, the next thing you're going to need is an idea, a concept, or some idea of what content you want to produce, what you want to be, or where you want to be going. Now, it's all very well and good having an idea, but you need to have consistency as well. If you keep on swapping and changing what you're doing on your channel, people will get confused, and it's really good if you can to sort of hone in on a specific area or a specific area within an area. That is where you're going to get your biggest growth. Now, there's a lot of channels out there that all do various different things. Some markets are really, really saturated. The technology market, the automotive market, the makeup market, all those things are really, really saturated. So if that's what you're planning to get into, try and choose a niche within that niche, and really sort of hone down what your target audience is and who you're aiming your content at. Now, depending on what sort of content you're making, whether it's maybe a how-to video, a video on construction or DIY or something like that, just think about what it is you're doing and who your target audience is likely to be. The next thing to think about is what value will your content provide your viewers? Now, for me, it's a relatively straightforward thing. In my mind, when I go shopping or when I'm looking to buy something, I like to know what I'm getting, what comes in the packaging, and what problems am I likely to face, or what benefits have I got of a certain product. So when I make unboxing videos, in the back of my mind, those are the questions that I'm thinking of and the things that I'm going to try and relay to you, the viewer. So in your videos that you're planning to make or thinking of making, think about some of those things. What value are you going to give your viewers from your content, and what makes your value unique? So there's some things to think about your content and how you're going to go about doing it. It may seem a little bit daunting at first to think, well, I just want to make a video. But if you're thinking of making it a long-term thing, which is actually a really rewarding thing to do, thinking about it early on is actually going to help you focus on where you're going and what you need to do to get to where you're going. Okay, so we've discussed some of the things that you need to kind of keep in the back burner, or things to be thinking of before you make your first video or before you start your channel. What other things do you need to actually physically produce that content? Now, the first thing is people say to me, oh, what camera should I get? Or what microphone should I get? Or what lights do I need? Well, the truth is, you don't really need any of that. As long as you've got the phone that's in your back pocket, or you've got an old camera which is lying around somewhere, then you're pretty much ready to get going straight away. Don't worry about the small things, or the big things in some cases. Just get the camera out and shoot the video. It may not be great, it may be fantastic, but until you actually press that record button, you will never know. So that is pretty much where we started out on the Mike's Unboxing channel. Myself and Kath, we didn't have a clue what we were doing, and luckily we worked in the TV industry, so there were people that we could ask upon, but for the production that we were working with, their stuff was really kind of, well, way out of our league. So we had to try and take some ideas and tips from how TV production is made, or how people go about making TV programs, and we tried to turn that into a smaller scale. So some of the key things, the first thing is visual, obviously, the video, composition, framing, all that kind of stuff. The next thing is lighting. Lighting is super, super important. Nobody likes to watch a really dark, dull video. It can be absolutely horrendous. The colors tend to look all washed out and all that kind of stuff. You don't want to do that. So lighting is a really, really key thing. As is audio. Audio makes a massive difference. You could have the nicest, sharpest looking content on YouTube, but if your sound quality is awful, people will not watch it unless you're giving some ridiculously valuable information, and in which case they will listen to it. But think of things like the pirate movies you used to get, where somebody would sit in the back of a cinema recording the screen on their mobile phone, and if you tried to watch it, you'd have the volume cranked up full and you'd just about be able to make out what people were saying. Then you'd hear someone's chair scraping or someone screwing up a packet of popcorn or something. It wasn't a great thing, and it was actually really tiring to watch. So those are the things you definitely want to try and to avoid. Now, you don't have to spend a lot of money. That is the good thing. If you've got your mobile phone, then you're off to a good start. A lot of mobile phones have got fantastic microphones, fantastic cameras built in. So really, there's no reason why you shouldn't start already. Just get your camera out, maybe get a tripod, a cheap tripod such as these, and you can pick these up for like £1 from Wish or your local pound store or whatever. They're very cheap. These particular ones, I got this from the local Poundland. Again, it's only £1 and you can put a mobile phone in there. It's not the best tripod in the world, but it will hold your camera steady, so you can get some nice steady shots if your camera doesn't support image stabilization. So that's how to get started. Basically, your mobile phone is fantastic. A relatively cheapish camera. This is a FZ62. I paid about £60 to £80 for that, which isn't expensive, but it does produce really nice 1080p content. Now, that was a kind of an interim thing from when we went from the mobile phone. We even borrowed a camera, so if maybe you know someone who's got a nice DSLR camera or a video camera of some sort, and maybe you can borrow it off them. Most people will be pretty kind and lend you it. Obviously, if you break it, you pay for it, but the option's there. If you don't have a great camera, ask around. I'm pretty sure someone will have one, or maybe your friends or family's got, someone's got an iPhone 8 or iPhone X. Fantastic devices for making content. But again, I keep on harping back, you don't need to spend ridiculous amounts of money. Now, my most expensive purchase was the camera that I'm filming this on at the moment, which is the Lumix G7 camera, which is a highly recommended camera. A lot of YouTubers tend to use them. It has the benefits of 4K, which is a step up from the other similar-ish range cameras like the Canon 70D, which was always the kind of the YouTuber's favorite because of its amazing flippy out screen and autofocus. But it was a 1080p camera, so now with 4K becoming more and more common and more popular, then the older cameras actually you can pick up quite cheaply now. So if you do want to go that route and stick to 1080p, then you can pick up some real bargains now. So I'm going slightly off topic there. Let's talk about microphones. Now, microphones, again, like I said, sound is really, really important for your production. If people can't hear what you're saying, and for me especially, because I'm from the West Country in England, my accent isn't the clearest and I do sometimes speak quite fast. So to have a good microphone so that there's at least a good chance that people are going to understand what I'm saying makes a massive difference. Now, you don't have to spend a load of money. The microphones built into most mobile phones, again, are pretty good. If you do want to spend a little bit of money, my honest to God best investment I made for this channel was the Boya BY-M1 microphone, which is the microphone that I'm using for this recording now. It's got a super long cable, so I've got the camera, which is probably about 6-7 foot away from me. The cable goes down on the floor all the way around this desk, up my shirt and into my t-shirt here. So the pickup on it is fantastic. I use this for my live streams as well, and a lot of people do comment on how good the audio is. And it is, for the, I think it was about £15 that the microphone cost. It's a powered microphone, so there's a lot of gain built into it, so you don't have to have the gain pumped up high on your camera. So you get really good sound quality coming through from it. Also, if you don't want to use it with a DSLR camera, there's a switch actually on the body of the microphone, so you can plug it into your smartphone. So you can have someone holding a smartphone a good few feet away from you, capturing a wide screen, but still get perfectly crystal clear audio, even though you're not next to the microphone. That was definitely a great buy, and I would certainly recommend anybody starting out in this, the Boya BY M1. I cannot rate it high enough. Definitely one of the things on your shopping list. Now, other things you can use microphone wise, now I found the Rode Video Micro. That I thought was a great idea, but I actually find that the sound quality isn't as good as the lavalier mic. Now, in a more open environment, say filming in the back garden, something like that, then this is perfect, especially with the dead cat on it. Blocks out the wind noise, or it does a good job of blocking out most of the wind noise. It's not perfect, but it is really good. And in a lot of cases actually will be better for picking up multiple sources. So if you're filming, say, a group of people, this kind of thing is fantastic, whereas a lavalier mic really is designed for kind of talking head videos like this kind of thing, or maybe doing voiceovers. It's nice to have one, but you don't necessarily need to have one. Okay, so we've talked a little bit about cameras, we've talked about microphones, we've talked a little bit about tripods, especially the smaller ones. Now, tripods are actually a really handy thing. Depending on the lens on your camera will depend where you need to put your camera to get your preferred shots. Now, at the moment for me, the camera that I'm using is on a newer mini stand, which is actually on the corner of the table that we're on here. Previously, I had the camera mounted on the larger tripod, which I think was the Amazon Basics, which was a 60-inch tripod, so I could have the camera a little bit further away to get that slightly wider shot. But because of the size of the room we're in, the tripod, because of how wide it is as well, was difficult to work with, walking around the outside of it, etc, etc. It was a real pain. And also I like to have the camera a little bit closer to give a slightly more intimate feel to the photography. Tripods, they all have their uses. There isn't one tripod which is perfect for all scenarios. Quite often when I'm filming B-roll with products on the desk, I tend to use either the mini tripod or one of these smaller ones, or sometimes I just actually put the camera literally on the deck of the table and raise it up slightly with the camera lens hood or something like that. So there definitely isn't a one size fits all tripod, and depending on your photography you will find that out. But definitely the Amazon Basics tripod was really good. The I think it's Hammer was a very good one. Again, I'll put links to a lot of this stuff in the description so you can check it out for yourself. So if you're in a similar situation and you're just starting, or you want some advice on what are sort of must-haves to have in your kind of arsenal of equipment, then you can check those out and see if those are any good for you and also any good for your budget. So that's talked about tripods. And the next thing is lighting. Now, lighting is another really important aspect of making YouTube videos. Now, at the moment in this particular setup, I'm really lucky that we've got this kind of white desk, quite a light background, so the light does tend to bounce around. Now, the window which is behind the camera has actually got a white blackout blind, so when it's really sunny we block out the sun, so we try and keep the setup as kind of neutral as possible, so we don't have to worry about changes of daylight, night time, all that kind of stuff. So I can quite easily film a video at 3 o'clock in the morning, or I can do it at 3 o'clock in the afternoon, and nobody's any the wiser what time of the day it is. So with lighting, now I've gone through many different types of lighting. I've got, at the moment, my kind of preferred setup is I've got my Mount Dog softboxes. I've got 2 in the studio here. So I've got one which is kind of behind the camera facing towards me. I've got another one just off to my left, which is the same softbox, same light. So just to try and bring a little bit of extra light on around the outside. I've also got the ceiling light in the room on, and also we've got some backlighting from the Batman sign. We've also got a little bit of light coming from the RGB from the PC, and there's a little bit of light going on from the monitor. So lighting is really important. Try and get as much light as you can, but the more light you've got, the more flattering it is apparently, and obviously the better it is for people to see. Now there's other ways you can get around this with lighting. If you've got one of these kind of IKEA angle poise lamps, you can quite easily put a high rated bulb in there and use that as another lighting source. These are actually really good. These are I guess this is the kind of fluorescent bulb. This is a 35 watt. This is a 5400 Kelvin bulb. So it's a kind of like a very cool white. You find that with lighting, the kind of your tungsten lights, the more yellowy ones or the more orangey ones, they don't actually give you a very good reproduction when you're making video. So you want to get the light as white as possible. It works well with the camera. Don't ask me why, again, I'm not an expert, but whiter the light, the better. Unless every time you use the camera, you want to set your white balance manually. A lot of professional photographers or people that know what they're doing will quite happily do that. But for me, personally, I'd rather just try and get it set up as quickly as possible, get the lights on, get the stuff filmed, and get it out onto YouTube. I don't want to be spending ages messing around with ISO settings and white balance and all that kind of stuff. A phrase I heard a long time ago was, if in doubt, flood it out, or something along those lines. So basically just put as much light as you can into it and everything will be great. Now, other ways of lighting, if you don't want to spend massive amount, well, not massive amounts of money, but if you don't want to spend sort of 30, 40, 50 pounds on soft boxes, again, you can use one of these angle poise lamps from IKEA. You can pick one of those up for about sort of between 5 to 10 pounds, not very expensive. Also, you can use portable lighting, such as these. These are the newer OE 160Cs. This is a battery operated lamp, so you have a battery on the back. So these are really flexible. If you're filming outside, maybe some kind of footage where people are out in the back garden around a fire or something, or I don't know, whatever it may be, but a darker scene, you can use these and they produce either a sort of a very white light, or if you want to, a very flattering light, again, into the kind of the hotter part of the spectrum. Again, these are pretty good. Because they're battery powered, you can use any of these kind of brackets and you can twist it, hang it onto the side of a tree, place it on a wall or whatever. They're pretty robust, so these are actually really handy to have, and we've used those quite a few times out when we've done outside stuff. Not so much at the moment because it's winter and it's horrible outside, so we're trying to stay inside as much as possible. And also most of the stuff on the channel is technology related, so it's nice to have it in a kind of a home environment or a studio type environment. Anyway, that wraps up lighting a little bit. At least it'll give you some ideas of what to do. Essentially, the lights you've got around your home will be more than sufficient. It just depends how far you want to push your production values. Essentially, you can get away with very minimal stuff, whatever it may be. An old fluorescent tube lamp, maybe one from someone's kitchen that they're taking apart and they've got one of those old 4-foot or 6-foot fluorescent tubes. Get one of those, put a wire on it, stick a 13-pin plug on the end and use that to light your shots. It will flood out the light and it will make your shots really bright, and it will cost you virtually nothing. So that's pretty much wraps up some of the initial things. If you've got any specific questions on how to set up a YouTube channel or any other things that we do on Mike's Unboxing, feel free to let me know in the comments section below. But in the meantime, I've been Mike. This is Mike's Unboxing Reviews and How To, and we will catch you in the very next video. Thanks for watching.